When my father raised his glass at his 60th birthday party, I thought he was about to thank the 70 guests under the crystal chandeliers. Instead, he locked eyes with me and smirked into the microphone. "To our biggest disappointment," he announced, his voice booming through the silent ballroom. "Our daughter, who still can't stand on her own." The room erupted into laughter. My mother leaned over, her voice dripping with venom, and whispered loud enough for the whole table to hear. "2 kids would have been enough." I didn't cry. I slowly finished my meal, stood up, and looked my family dead in the eye. "Before New Year's, you'll regret this," I said quietly. They just laughed louder, toast glasses clinking in the background. But exactly 1 week later, my phone lit up with 68 missed calls, and the frantic texts read, "Please answer. This isn't funny. Come home." My name is Chloe, and at 26 years old, I was supposed to be the shining star of the prestigious Montgomery family. In our high society circle, image isn't just important, it is everything. My father, Richard Montgomery, ran a multi-million-dollar real estate empire, and his upcoming 60th birthday party was the social event of the season. When the invitation arrived at my modest apartment, a cold dread settled in my stomach. I knew exactly why I was being summoned. It wasn't out of love. It was to fill an empty chair and play the role of the quiet, unsuccessful daughter who couldn't cut it in the family business. The moment I stepped into the grand ballroom, the atmosphere shifted to freezing. My golden child older brother, Brandon, was instantly surrounded by investors, praised loudly by my father for a routine deal he'd barely managed. My sister, Vanessa, was flaunting a designer dress, basking in my mother's adoring compliments. When I approached, my parents didn't even look up. My mother simply sighed, adjusting her pearls, and muttered, "You could have at least worn something more expensive, Chloe." I was completely marginalized, shoved to the far end of the main table like an unwanted afterthought. They wanted me there as a prop, a visual baseline of failure to make my siblings look even more grand. Little did they know, I was hiding a massive secret of my own, one that would change the power dynamic of this family forever. Before we continue, comment below. What kind of secret do you think I was keeping from them? The laughter from the 70 guests echoed through the grand ballroom, cutting deeper than any physical blow ever could. I stared at my father, whose face was flushed red with wine and cruel satisfaction, still holding his microphone high. My mother's smirk was etched into my mind, her venomous whisper about 2 kids being enough lingering in the air like poison. As I pushed back my chair and stood up, the clinking of glasses faded into a suffocating silence at our table. I looked at Brandon and Vanessa, who refused to meet my eyes, suddenly very interested in their expensive desserts. They were all complicit in this public execution of my dignity. I turned my back on the Montgomery legacy and walked toward the exit, my heels clicking sharply against the polished marble floor. Nobody stopped me. Nobody called out my name. As the heavy double doors closed behind me, the warmth of the ballroom vanished, replaced by the freezing night air of the city. Rain began to pour, soaking my coat as I walked blindly toward the parking lot. My family truly believed I was a broke, desperate failure because I had refused to take part in my father's corrupt, underhanded business practices 2 years ago. To them, walking away to build my own independent venture meant I was weak and bound to fail. They had no idea that their cruelty tonight hadn't broken me. It had simply removed the very last ounce of guilt I had about destroying them. The wet city streets blurred outside the window of the cab as I rode back to my apartment, but inside my mind, everything was perfectly clear. When I stepped through my door, I didn't shed a single tear. Instead, I shed the heavy, wet coat, sat down at my desk, and opened my laptop. The familiar glow of the screen illuminated the room, throwing long shadows against the walls. I logged into my secure portal, bypassed the encryption, and pulled up my tech startup's financial dashboard. There it was, written in bold, unyielding numbers, a liquid valuation that eclipsed everything my father had built over 40 agonizing years. Next month, my company was scheduled to hit its major public milestone, transitioning out of stealth mode and into the global spotlight. I had intentionally kept this massive professional success a complete secret from my toxic family for 2 long years. I wanted to see if they would ever love me for who I was, rather than my net worth, or what I could provide for their fragile egos. Tonight, they had given me their final, definitive answer. They valued cruelty over loyalty and optics over blood. I pulled up the secret acquisition files I had been quietly compiling on the Montgomery Group. My father's real estate empire was built on a fragile foundation of leveraged debt and outdated practices. I traced my fingers across the worn, smooth leather of my desk chair, feeling a cold, calm determination take root deep inside my soul. They thought I was a disappointment, but they were about to realize I was their downfall. The true vulnerability of the Montgomery Group lay buried deep within their heavily guarded financial ledgers, hidden beneath layers of corporate arrogance. Unbeknownst to my father, his precious real estate empire was currently standing on a terrifyingly fragile house of cards. The massive luxury high-rise expansion project he was banking on was completely bleeding his cash reserves dry. To survive the upcoming quarter without going into default, his entire operation hinged entirely on a massive, pending $20 million cash injection from an anonymous venture capital firm based out of New York. He believed he was playing a masterclass in corporate negotiation, keeping the deal secret from his competitors while bragging to his peers about his impending triumph. He had absolutely no idea that the anonymous venture capital firm, Apex Horizon, was actually a shell corporation entirely owned and operated by my tech startup. I had created it months ago specifically to keep tabs on his predatory market moves. I looked at the ticking digital clock on my wall, the glowing numbers reflecting off the dark glass window of my office. It was time. I picked up my phone and dialed a private, encrypted line, waiting through 3 silent rings before my business partner answered on the other end. "It's Chloe," I said, my voice carrying a sharp, icy edge that hadn't been there before tonight. "The Montgomery deal. Go ahead and initiate the final audit review protocols, but instruct our legal team to stall the final approval. We are going to stretch this out and set a strict deadline that perfectly aligns with the New Year's Eve countdown." I hung up the phone and leaned back into the shadows. The trap was set. Exactly 1 week after the disastrous birthday party, the fragile house of cards my father built finally began to collapse. Apex Horizon officially sent a formal notification to the Montgomery Group, abruptly pulling its $20 million funding offer due to newly discovered ethical concerns regarding leadership. My father's team panicked, realizing they had no backup plan to cover their massive, bleeding cash reserves. But the nightmare didn't stop there for them. At the exact same hour, their largest corporate client, who had been anchoring their entire commercial portfolio for a decade, legally terminated their contract. They chose to move their business to a rapidly rising, highly efficient enterprise, my tech startup. Chaos erupted at the family mansion. My father desperately called emergency board meetings, while Brandon and Vanessa tried frantically to trace the source of the sudden corporate bleeding. When their legal team pulled the official paper trail of the rival enterprise to see who was destroying them, they found a web of shell companies that led directly to a single parent corporation. Standing at the top as the registered founder and chief executive officer was my name. The realization hit them like a physical blow. The broke, desperate failure they had publicly humiliated was the actual tycoon holding their financial survival in her hands. By the time my mother put the pieces together, the Montgomery Group was officially looking at total bankruptcy within a matter of days. The very daughter they tried to erase had effortlessly written them out of the market. The silent air in my apartment was shattered as my phone suddenly began to vibrate violently against the wooden desk, lighting up the dark room with a relentless stream of frantic notifications. One after another, the screen flashed with the exact chaotic pattern of 68 missed calls, just as the looming reality of their downfall finally sank in. My father's name flashed across the glass over and over, accompanied by desperate text messages that completely abandoned his previous arrogance. "Please answer, Chloe. This isn't funny. We need to talk about the company immediately. Come home." Then came a flurry of texts from Brandon, his usual golden child confidence reduced to pure panic. "Sis, this isn't funny anymore. The lawyers just told us everything. You can't do this to Dad's legacy." Even my mother, who had so cruelly mocked my existence just 7 days prior, sent a message that reeked of sudden synthetic remorse. "I was wrong, Chloe. I didn't mean what I said at the party. Please, you're our daughter. Come home and let's fix this as a family." I sat back in my chair, watching the screen glow in the dark, but I didn't answer a single call. I didn't reply to a single text. I let the phone ring until the battery drained, allowing the suffocating tension to build inside their mansion as the New Year's Eve deadline crept closer. They hadn't cared about family when they tried to destroy my dignity under the crystal chandeliers, and I certainly wasn't going to save them now that the tables were turned. On the final morning of the year, I sent a single, brief email to my father's private address. Attached were the final liquidation papers for the Montgomery Group, alongside a brief message. "The biggest disappointment of your life has officially closed your account. Enjoy the retirement you earned." I didn't wait for a reply. I permanently blocked their numbers, closed my laptop, and walked out into my new reality. A few weeks later, I used my hard-earned capital to purchase a breathtaking estate in Carmel, overlooking the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. As I watched the waves crash against the cliffs from my terrace, the suffocating shadow of my family's conditional love completely evaporated. Would you have saved your family's business despite how they treated you? Or would you let them face total bankruptcy like I did? Comment your city and your thoughts below so I can see how far my story has reached. If you want to see how another family got exactly what they deserved after pushing a good person too far, click on one of the 2 videos popping up on your screen right now. They will definitely surprise you. Thank you for watching until the very end.